Ladies and gentlemen, Grant's just coughed, so I'm going to do it again. Guys, welcome to episode 6 of the Lower League Look. I've just practiced this. I'm going to see if I can get it right because I've forgotten already. Tonight, we've got the real GSJ, Grant, joining us, and Dizzy Up the Guy, Chris, joining us. No guests tonight, and there's a simple reason for that. And a lot of tonight's going to be talking about League Two's managerial merry-go-round, which, quite frankly, has turned into the fucking magic roundabout. This week has been insane. Guys, leading into it, before we touch on management, I know we just mentioned it. There's a big disciplinary issue in League Two at the minute. Big one. So today we've seen Bradford Oldham charged with failing to control players. Tranmere Swindon also the same. And we've also got Newport Mansfield, as well as the Carlisle situation, which we'll touch on later. But do you think that, every single one of them, aside from the Mansfield Newport one, because that's a top end sort of game, the others are all sort of involving clubs that are in some sort of fight, whether it's to get into the playoffs or not? Do you think that the pressure's really sinking in this season, that people realise that there's clubs coming up from the leagues below in the summer who have got a lot of money, and next season could be a hell of a lot tighter than this year? So do you think like that? Is that similar for you guys? Do you feel the same? That's how I'm sort of looking at it.
Sure, I've never actually thought of it that way at all. Now that you say it, I think it's a really, really good point. I think it's going to be a really fiery league next season, no matter what happens. There's so much going on in the lower leagues, a lot going on in this league now. But yeah, I equally, people don't want to go out of the league. You see what's happening at Carlisle, but is that just an absolute shitstorm at Carlisle? We'll talk on that. But yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. It's interesting because, Chris, we saw. I know you were on holiday. I want to welcome you back, by the way, because you missed last week.
Thank you. Thank
you. We were expecting an epic Derek Adams rant. However, the Bradford situation will be touched on later, and I don't think you'll need to go on an epic Derek Adams rant because we've addressed the Derek Adams issue and rectified it, Chris. The Bradford Oldham game, I was there. Paudie O'Connor, red card. The red card was overturned, and yet the club have still been charged with failing to control a player. That doesn't make sense to me. Can you guys make any sense of that at all?
Yeah, it just seems a bit. It seems a bit like Super League, to be honest with you, where there are. I'm talking about rugby league, by the way, where they just literally are suspending people for the sake of it. Anyway, we're talking about football, but if it was overturned, why is the club being fined or brought into disrepute? I don't get this. I don't understand that. It just seems to be when maybe it's two different departments and they haven't got a clue what they're doing. I don't know.
It's interesting. It's
the only game I've missed. It's the only game I've missed this year, Liam. So I can't comment on it because I was away. I don't know anything else than that. Was it that bad?
It was handbags. As far as I'm concerned, it was handbags. Paudie, we all know Paudie, since he got his tooth knocked out against Salford, seems to be like a bit like Rocky. He does have a bit of a short fuse, but that's what you want in this league. We've needed that this season. But for me, yeah, it was handbags. No one else was booked. So if the referee's handed out no other cards, I think it's a bit nonsensical to charge the club. But I'm sure the club will.
It's a strange decision, isn't it?
It's
mad. I mean, to be fair, boys, if we're talking about decisions, can we talk about Mark Cooper at Barrow and
Sorry,
Stu, can you explain to our listeners what happened there?
So I just want to first point out, I'm going to say what what Cooper said. I fully support equality.
We all do. No, can we all just say that we all do?
We are an inclusive podcast, and we're going to try and
No, it's not just that, Stu. It's not just that. It's that we are. And you know what? And it's disgusting, the words that he said. And I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you say it. And how he's still the manager of Barrow, disgusts me. But
Yeah.
go on.
So essentially, they had a female linesman or lineswoman. I don't linesperson. I don't know what we
assistant referee, as how it's
assistant
found in the
referee.
statement.
Okay. And something hadn't gone their way. Obviously, Barrow out having a great season, and he essentially turned around to her and told her that it's a man's game. And that's a strange thing for the time we live in, considering that, every club's out there promoting inclusivity within this. He's been given an 8-game ban, which is a very, very harsh. I don't want to say harsh, but what I mean is it's a strict punishment. I support it. The guy's not a nice man, and Chris, I know you've got stuff
Do you know what I
about
think?
it. You're saying,
you see, before we do that, even worse, right? He said it's a man's game to her, right? And then when he was getting sent off, he came out and he just said, "All I said was it was a man's game." So he reaffirmed what he said, and basically just it just puts down to how big a cunt he is.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what the thing is? There's an incredible follow it on Twitter. There is an incredible campaign for her game 2, right? And these are the girls that go to the games. Sorry, girls, ladies, whatever. I'm sorry. They go to the games and they are sick and tired of these tirades from males who, oh yeah, you don't know anything about the game, love. You don't understand anything about the game. And it's disgusting. And I would love to. I'm going to try next week to get one of these, one of the ladies involved, just to let everybody else know what the situation is. But I've seen it, and it's sickening. This game is about everybody. It's not about male, female, non-gender or anything like that. Whoever you want to portray yourself as, it's about enjoying football. So why would it fucking matter who you are?
Yeah, it's football's a universal language. It speaks to everyone.
Absolutely.
I 100% support everything you've said on that. And I think it's no wonder you don't see an active professional football player in this situation coming out as being homosexual as well. Yeah. When you're seeing comments like that to female officials.
Well, I mean, Grant, you see it just on that point. It's a really good point. You see it week in, week out when a player goes down injured. The stuff that's shouted is so homophobic, and it is, and it is rife within the game. And clubs are doing what they can to eradicate it, but the club's going to do so much. We've got to hold up our hands and take some accountability. Just on his comment about it being a man's game. Now, I know the chances of him seeing this are slim, but I hope in some way or another he does get to see it. If it's a man's game, your team are currently 88th out of 92, pal. Well done. You're a right man.
Can I also mention about Mark Cooper? Because I tell you what, I know that on this podcast we have to be reasonably respectful. He was given a 5-year deal.
I just called him a cunt.
Yeah, okay. So he was offered a 5-year deal at Forest Green. They wanted to get rid of him. And do you know what? Barrow gave him a 3-year deal. This guy, I'll tell you what, fuck it. You know what? He's a cunt. He's a cunt.
He failed to take.
Barrow fans, if you want to have a word, please come along. I would love to talk to you guys and talk about that.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm going to put this out there. Barrow have the best media man in the league. The best media man in the league. Big Mark Simo, he is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So good.
And that's, we're not going to waste too much time on him because do you know what? Like we've touched on it. He ain't worth it. He ain't worth it. Speaking of managers getting charged, managers getting in trouble. Grant, you mentioned last week you spoke about John Yems at Crawley and what he said. Today, 4 hours ago, he's officially been reprimanded by the FA. So you'll be glad to know that that's getting dealt with.
Good.
The guy, but they've only.
Do you know what? I love John Yems. Do you know what I love about John Yems?
He's a comic book.
Do you know?
He's a meme.
Do you know what? He's definitely a non-league manager in a league management job. He speaks a lot of things, and I tell you what, their interviewer must, hate him, but fair play.
He's good. He's good value for money when Crawley lose, though, isn't he? You always go and see what he's got to say because he's always got something to say.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always got something to say, and
but here's the thing: we don't want to. We don't like. He's called an official a clown. Like he knows he can't do that. He's done it anyway. He's gonna get a ban. He'll deal with it. He'll come back. They'll lose again. He'll call them something else. That's another merry-go-round. It's the John Yems merry-go-round.
Can we talk about Leyton Orient, by the way?
Yeah, that was something I was going to touch on. Like, wow.
After the match,
he's not even had a chance to go and get changed. Do you guys think that, obviously, just so anyone who doesn't know, Orient, they sacked Jacket straight after the game. They're currently sat in 18th place, 5 above relegation, but they have got at least 1 game in hand over everyone below except for Oldham. Do you think they saw Michael Flynn coming in at Walsall sacking their manager, and I said it would either make or break their season? Michael Flynn came in, and we're going to touch a bit on them later on, but I'll mention it now. Beating top of the league, and yeah, they got stuffed on Tuesday, but do you think that they're hoping that they can have a similar sort of bounce, just even if because that 1 win could be everything? Why do you think that they've done it now? What do you think's led them to do it at this moment and not sooner?
I think the fact 10 games in the league without a win. They've been in a horrific run. When was our last draw? Let's see.
When was their last goal, by the way? Oh, yeah, that's right. It was against Bradford.
Yeah, that was the last point. That was their last point and their last goal. And before that, I'm looking back. In fact, that is their only goal in 9 games.
Standard.
It's not great. Their next 5 home games, and this is where I think that we could have that similarity where they're hoping they can get that bounce. They've got a little bit of a better run than what Walsall are facing, and they've got Carlisle on Saturday. We're going to talk about Carlisle soon, but they've got to see that as not just a win, as a bye. That is anyone who goes to Carlisle fearing that they're going to get anything less than 3 points these days, especially after what's happened in the last week, has got to be insane. They then have Colchester away, another game, team around them. They can get that. Stevenage at home. They then come into your place, Grant. Going to have Hartlepool.
Yeah,
they're not going to beat Hartlepool. I genuinely think Hartlepool are going to be on this blinding run this rest of this season, but they finish it with Forest Green away, the 5th game. I think what they've done, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, obviously tell me, but I think they've got this game in hand with at least 1 game in hand on teams below. Some teams they've got 2 games in hand on. Some games they've even got 3. Sorry, some teams they've even got 3. But I don't think they've trusted Kenny Jackett to be the person who would get that result in those games that matter, those extra games that they're going to have. They've not seen him as the person that can get them where.
Thing is, who's going to come into Orient right now? You're looking at. I'm go back to the bookies odds. I know they're not the most reliable thing in the world, but you look at the names that are kicking about. It's the same names that you see for every job just now: Ferguson, Wellens, Evans, Grayson.
It'll be Steve Evans,
Lambert, Gray, Fowler, Warnock. It's the same names who've been thrown about for every job.
It'll be Steve Evans. Steve Evans has the chance to go in there, and like I said, just look, they've got 3 games in hand over Scunthorpe, for example, 2 games over most of the others, one over some, level with Oldham. Steve Evans can go in there, and that is for a manager who knows what he's doing. It's a relatively, I don't want to say easy, but out of the bottom sort of 6-7 teams, they've got the best chance. Steve Evans goes in there and turns and keeps them up. He's a hero, and he loves nothing more than that because he is an egomaniac. That's what he lives for. He lives for that
I don't think they're going to go down. I think Orient are probably going to be safe. I think they will pick up over the next few games. I don't see them not doing enough to stay up.
And I think that's aided by, and obviously we're going to come on to this next, but I think it's sort of key to touch on it there and come into it, is it's aided by the Carlisle situation.
Yeah,
Carlisle
that's not good.
are, it's rare that 6 or 7 teams are involved in a relegation fight and your entire season relies on just yourself, because you usually look to the teams around you to slip up, but Carlisle are making mistakes not just on the field but
They're
off
in
it.
free fall. They're in free fall. We'll talk about them in a bit, but
Yeah.
there's certain things about the club that they've changed this week, which they needed to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so guys, we've touched on Carlisle there. We've sort of gone into it a bit, but before we do, because we're trying to keep this structure, and I'm going to share out the picture of the other structure. So we've got this here, guys. We're very organised. The structure that I had that literally just said intro, Mark fucking Hughes, exit, and that's all it said for the night. But before we go in, I mentioned those 5 games for Orient there. We've got home at Carlisle, Colchester away, home to Stevenage, away to Hartlepool, and away to Forest Green. Where do you see? So I'll come to you first, Chris. Where do you see the points? Where do you see the revival essentially coming from them?
A very difficult question, because obviously Jackie. Jacket's been sacked. I don't think they can do any better than him. It's a very worrying situation for Leyton Orient fans. Again, Leyton Orient fans, if you think that I'm wrong, I'd love to hear from your thoughts. But it looks like a very difficult situation. I don't see things kind of picking up. They've got they're 5 points above relegation. Got 1 game in hand other than Oldham, and the next 5 games are literally Carlisle, Colchester, Stevenage, and then they got away games at Hartlepool and Forest Green. So
I personally
think they've got to
pick
pick up
6.
They've got to pick up at least 4 for me. They have to.
I think they'll win the next 2 games personally.
I think they beat Carlisle. I agree.
Yeah.
I think Colchester away. Colchester were fast in the break. I think they're a fast team. I think they'll get a point at Colchester, and potentially they might get something at Stevenage as well, because they're in a very similar sort of position in the table. You
One
could
place
be looking.
below.
I think you could be looking at least 4 points that they have to get. Best case scenario 7. I don't see them picking anything up at Victoria Park.
I don't think they'll go down.
I don't see them picking anything up at Forest Green.
I don't think they'll go down. I don't see
just
them
on
going
that, Chris. So just on that, Chris, and I wanted to touch on that, what you've just mentioned there. That was my next question. When you say you don't see them going down, I don't see them going down, but I want to know if your reasons for not seeing them going down are the same as mine. Do you think that they're not going down because there's too much shit going on below them?
No.
That they're safe. I think they're categorically safe because what's going on below them is condemning teams to the bottom of the league.
I think the fact that obviously they against Bradford they only scored a goal first time in like something like 9 games and stuff. I think that watching their team play, they weren't the worst team that I've ever seen. At Valley Parade, even though it looked like they would never score, but they did. I don't think they're a bad team. I think it just needs a bit more direction. Obviously, under Kenny Jackett, it didn't quite work, and I understand that. I don't see Leyton Orient go down. Not for a chance.
I don't see it either. And I agree. I think there's too much going on with other teams that are around and below them. If they concentrate themselves, get points on the board, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah. I agree, and I think.
Don't worry, Orient fans. I got your back.
Do you know what? I agree, and do you know what? I think I really, really like Leyton Orient as a club. I genuinely, I do like them. I love the ground. It's different to any other ground in the country. The university blocks in the corner. It's just I weirdly, I didn't know they were so low in the league. until they sacked Jacket, and I started looking
They went
into
in
it for
free
this week.
fall.
Massively. But let's talk about the situation below. We touched on Carlisle. Let's go into Carlisle and talk about the last week, because
Do we have to go into Carlisle?
We don't have to go into Carlisle.
No,
We
we
stay
don't
well
actually.
clear.
Yeah, that's fine.
I did Carlisle. Listen, I did Carlisle twice in the season. Once on a Tuesday night in the Carling Cup, and we lost on penalties. The next time was 3 months later on a New Year's Day when I didn't get until 6 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be at the ground at 7, and we lost 1-0. And it was the most horrific day. That's one of the worst away days I've ever had. So no, Grant, I agree. I don't want to go into Carlisle.
That's football. I see.
That's football under Colin Todd. That's football under Colin Todd.
On the other side, I've actually got a bit of time for Carlisle, and I think that it's quite worrying at the moment, because last season they were, they were in abouts with the playoffs. They just missed out. They had a lot of Bradford players who have been rejected, and they played quite. They looked like a good team.
Speaking of Bradford players for him, Chris, and that leads us into the first point about Carlisle. Amari Patrick.
Well, you want to mention that? I'm not going to mention it. You can mention it.
So anyone who's been living under a rock or who hasn't been paying attention to League Two football, Saturday night, obviously during the day they lost 3-0 at home. I think it was to Swindon, wasn't it? They got pumped 3-0 at home. A couple of players went out on a night out around Carlisle and ended up in a fight. Looks like in a fight. Might have been a bit of handbags, but the question by the police. Amari Patrick, one of them, has issued an apology. I don't know who the other one was. I've not looked into it. Does anyone know who the other one was?
No, I don't. The only one I know is Amari Patrick, because he has came out and made a public apology.
Which is weird.
A lot of folk were calling him out, saying he should never play for the club again, all this sort of thing. So, I mean, he's came out and said he's aware of his responsibilities he has representing Carlisle. He takes full responsibility for his actions on Saturday night. His reason for being out was a birthday celebration, not to drown his sorrows, and show a bad attitude showing a bad attitude for losing the game. His reason for his reaction was due to a female friend being manhandled by a group of men, and for how he was treated in words that were said to me that were not football related and far worse. So it makes me think that there was a racial incident, and obviously
it was Brennan Dickinson as well. He was involved as well.
So just on that name, what was it? Dickinson?
Brennan Dickinson. Yeah. So
is there a connection in terms of, aside from Carlisle, is there a connection between those two players outside of Carlisle? Because if Patrick's saying he was at a birthday party, why was there another player there? Like that confuses me a little bit, and it makes me wonder if that's maybe just a bit of an excuse. Because, to be fair, it doesn't matter why he was out. It really doesn't matter why he was out, because it's not about why he was out. It's about what happened.
Absolutely. And you know what? The thing is, this is the problem, though, isn't it, Chew? Is where we see videos where we only get half of the content, and we automatically, when we see that little clip, we go, "Oh, it must be their fault." We don't know what. To be fair, that what he had to go through. And
exactly, and that's a perfect example, because another one, it's like Kurt Zuma. What we didn't see is before that, the cat kicked him and filmed it on his phone. So no, but I get what you mean. What I'm saying is like I get it 100%. We only see what the person who's filmed that is only going to put online what they want you to see.
But I tell you what, moving along, so they've sacked their manager this week.
They have. Grant, I know. Do you know what, Grant? You're a Hartlepool fan, and I know that you take great delight in the decline and the plight of Carlisle. Grant, I'm going to let you take this. Tell us what's gone on.
I do, but I think I probably take too much pleasure in the decline of Carlisle. So
can't wait till we get a Carlisle fan on.
I'll go off that week. But no, they sacked the manager. I mean, I think we've all said that they're on free fall. They're on free fall. We think they're down, and are National League bound, alongside Scunny.
I think this week has confirmed that for me.
And the same day, they bring in Simpson, sack the manager, bring in Simpson, who got them back to back promotions.
They had Simpson before, right? he was
And the fans are buzzing with it.
Yeah, because he's like the kind of so when we talk about Bradford City, Stuart McCall, we talk
He's
about
like your
Is
Sheridan.
he their John Sheridan? Yeah, he's their John
yes,
Sheridan.
yes, Sheridan.
And that pains you, doesn't it, Chris? It pains you because you know that there's a 50 quid bill
Well,
coming your way
do you
before
know
the
what?
end of the season.
Do you know what the thing is? I will do that. I promise people who listen, I will do that. I will have a Sheridan shirt, 6 Sir Sheridan. Where's your shirt? In fact, actually, boys,
All right,
where's
we're going to
your
come on to
shirts?
this.
Where are
We're going to
your
come on to this.
shirts?
We're going to come on to this because we've
coming.
got a story. We've got a story to tell you
Oh, there's a
regarding our
surprise.
shirts.
There's
No,
a
yeah,
surprise.
Chris, you're gonna love this. You're gonna be jealous.
Let's talk it now.
Do you know
Let's
what?
talk it now.
95% of our fan base that listen to this are Oldham fans, so they're gonna be jealous as well. So Grant, Saturday, Bradford, Oldham. We don't need to talk about the result. It's fine. It happened. It's in the past. However, 3 o'clock, Grant settles down to watch the Hartlepool game, and his phone rings.
Sitting chilling.
It's me
his missus.
FaceTiming. Oh, it's my missus, sorry. FaceTiming him. So Grant answers. His hair's up here. He's laid on his couch like this. And who's on the screen? Who's on the screen, Grant? When you answer the phone?
It's not his missus. I was disappointed at
Oh,
first.
you
I was
were
like,
hanging, weren't you? You were.
I was absolutely burst. Who is on the screen? Big Mike Fondop. Get a video call from Mike. Sitting there, and I was like, injured. What's happening, mate? He's like, groin's gone. So that's why I was getting a wee video call from the man himself. I was buzzing.
Do you know something?
Buzzing as you can be.
I'm gonna say this, and my missus, she'll back us up. The nicest man I have ever met in my life. Like, the thing is, I was out on the pitch doing some stuff, and the steward that was in the tunnel was going like this to me, and I'm going, why am I being flagged over? So I ignored it. And 10 minutes later, I went in because I'd said, I want a picture with Mike Fondop, please. 10 minutes later, I went in and he was still stood there waiting for me.
Oh, bless him.
Mate, genuinely, lovely bloke.
Can we get him on? Can we get him on this? Have you had a chat with him?
Do you know why not? Do you know why not? Because I think if we asked him to come on, he'd listen to the episodes prior.
I don't think we've abused him. But the thing is, no, I don't think we've abused him. I think it's a case that he's our hero.
I think him,
he's our meme.
Oh my God.
I think we've called him shit.
So
we've called him shit.
Yeah, but that's fine. That happens. He'll hear that on the terraces. But do you know the thing? So Grant said, when we first spoke about him, Grant, you mentioned his interview for you guys when he signed, and he compared himself to Messi and Ronaldo. I spoke to him and said, Mike, what happened at Harrogate? And he went, Hartlepool. Yeah, Dorks, I've got Tuesday night on the brain. I mentioned Hartlepool, and he went, oh yeah, Hartlepool. He says, every single one of those fans was devastated when I left. And I was like, that just in my head just flashed me back to that. But not for the reasons he believes.
No.
We do need him on. And do you know what? I've got contacts in the club, which I'm going to come to now, and I will do what I can to get him on. If I can get him on, we will be sat with Big Mike Fondop. But in terms of the shirts, they are coming. Callum, I think Callum's going to be watching. Callum's one of the guys who works for the Community Foundation at Oldham, who, by the way, treat us like royalty. Genuinely treat us like royalty. And I told Bradford City this, treat me better than Bradford City treat me. I had my own dressing room. It had a TV in it. Yeah, it didn't work. Actually, I had 2 TVs in it. One of it had no signal. Like, never had that. Genuinely, I said to the guy, I said, right, told him exactly why we needed these shirts. And he just turned around and he was like, well, get them through me and I'll get Fondop to sign them. So we're not just getting the shirts. This is why it's taking a little bit longer. Mike Fondop's signing the shirts for us. So we're going to have them. They're going to be signed. We're going to do the podcast in them. I'm buzzing because I got to see the shirt in person. Like, I held the shirt and I was like, this shirt is beautiful. So I'm quite happy with it. We may as well, while we're here, Chris, I know you were away on Saturday. One thing I will say, I know Bradford fans were not happy on Saturday. We got pumped. We did. And do you know what? We deserved to. We didn't play well. However, has anyone else just seen Liv crawl past on the floor? She's just crawled past here. So when you watch this back, guys, you're going to just see this grey hoodie go past here. And I pointed that out on purpose because I'm not cutting this because I want people to know what I have to fucking deal with. Right. We got beaten. We got beaten comprehensively. But what I will say is, obviously, Chris, I know your opinion on John Sheridan, and I think it's changing slightly. I do think he's sort of winning you around a little bit.
Absolutely. I think that I've made the worst decision of my life. I decided that I would get a Sheridan shirt, but do you know what? Do you know what? This is the thing. It's where, do you know what? You get managers who care about the clubs, who come back and try and sort them out, and obviously he's doing that, and it's exciting for Oldham fans. So Oldham fans, listen, I'm happy to wear your shirt.
I think he's a dead set for manager of the month for February.
He's got
Mate, do you know what? The way that they played, I will say it now, they were so organised from top to bottom. Every time we got the ball, they had 3 men on them.
It's the only game I've missed this year. The only game I've missed this year.
You'll be glad you missed it. You'll be glad you missed it. I mean, don't get me wrong, we scored a legitimate goal. It was disallowed. I will stand by that and say, and like, I will happily hold my hands up and say if I think that something wasn't a goal and it should have been disallowed. But there's been a few occasions this season where I've sort of stood my ground. Grant, when we played you guys, we should have had a penalty. You were stood with me. You agreed. It was to Stonewaller. Saturday's goal should have stood. It didn't. We were 2-0 down. It would have made it 2-1. Would it have changed the outcome of the game? Probably not, because up until that point, we'd created nothing. But Oldham, I was so impressed with Oldham, not just on the pitch, off the pitch as well. John Sheridan, Chris, I know I sent you the picture. Straight away after the game, like our dressing rooms were next to each other, came out, had a photo with him. I think, they're going to stay up. They're out of the relegation places, by the way, guys. We need to acknowledge that as well. He's got them out of the relegation places. Beautiful.
And by the way, the atmosphere their fans are creating is class.
Unreal. Like for a home team, you see it. Teams come away from home, and that's what you do. When you come away from home, you sing, you all band together because you're all lumped together. Carlisle at home. Sorry, not Carlisle. Oldham at home. They were so supportive.
Great fans. Incredible. Great fans.
Yeah, lovely fans.
It has been an odd 7 days, though, isn't it, in the league? A few goings on.
And that's on that. I know exactly where you're going with it, Grant. We touched on it last week. Obviously, Chris, I know you weren't here, but Michael Flynn came into to Walsall. I'm getting teams mixed up left, right, centre tonight, but he came into Walsall, and I'm pretty sure I predicted that they could get something out of the Forest Green game. Grant did that.
I think we both said that.
They didn't just do that. They beat them. That was the game. That was when we said Forest Green going to drop points this season. That was it. They beat Forest Green, but then went on and got spanked 5-0.
I said to Sean, who we had on a couple of weeks ago, I says, mate, I think you could struggle in this. I really do think this could be your banana skin. And 3 points. Yeah. Fair play.
But then lost 5-0 on Tuesday night. So my question to you both there is, have the wheels been put on the bus and fallen off in record time? Or do you think, which one of those two do you think was the blip? Do you think it was the victory, or do you think it was the loss?
So I think the fact they beat Forest Green at Forest Green and nobody else can do that. I think the fact that over 90 minutes, I think that's a good performance. However, maybe they got a bit confident. They went to Swindon. They got beat 5-0. Disappointing. I mean, they've got Mickey Flynn. Mickey Flynn, for me, did a great job at Newport. He's got a big job.
I've pulled something, right?
Well, is it your groin, Mike Fondop?
No, it's not my groin. Right. So, this fan on Twitter, right, he's called Ollie Walsall. I don't know if he listens or not, but I've been having
Oh, mate, if you don't listen, I'm sending him
we're talking this, are we? Yeah.
Yes. So, He came in and he went, "Oh, right, here we go. We've beat Forest Green." He says, "This is my predicted. We're going to beat Swindon. We're going to beat Hartlepool, right?" And I was just like, talking really confident here. I like your confidence. I retweeted him and I went, I love it when a fans get a bit of confidence and still back in them, because WalsAll were in a shit run. Then he tweets the next day a predicted league table for League Two.
We all know how predictions go, don't we, guys? We've done really well this season.
He had Walsall finishing 5th at the end of the season on 74 points.
How many are they on at the minute? They're on.
Well, he had them picking up 39, so he had them picking up 13 wins between now and the end of the season. I think it was. Only only dropping points in 2 games. And I was like, mate, I says there's belief, and then there's being absolutely deluded. Come on, you can't be doing that. And then they get smashed 5-0. And
did he block you on Twitter as well?
No, he's not blocked me. He's just been really, really quiet. I don't think he's tweeted since. So I sent him a wee message and I was like, "Are you okay there, mate? He's still alive." Or you've been really quiet recently, something along those lines.
You don't have much luck with fans on Twitter, Grant.
No?
You had the other one who owed you a tenner to a charity and said that he just given it to a guy from he bought a homeless man at McDonald's.
Yeah, he's a Stockport fan.
Can we talk about the biggest game in League Two history, which is probably going to have the biggest attendance smashed to pieces?
Are we talking?
We're talking about the team called Mansfield.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Carlisle and Leyton Orient.
We're talking about Mansfield.
I thought we were going to be talking about Forest Green and Colchester with all like 50 people that were going to attend. When's that playing? That's going to be a record.
They're all going on the same
Mansfield have sold. So Mansfield, even though their ground's only literally 50 people, they have sold 2,500 tickets to Bradford City this weekend.
And here's the thing. Obviously, we know Bradford sacked Adams last week. Fine. We've got over it. And there's a reason we've got over it. And I've just realised we've alluded this, or we've sort of alluded to it all night, but we've stayed away from announcing it. But look at Chris's fucking background.
For anyone who has listened to the audio, Mark Hughes, you haven't heard that wrong, is now the Bradford City manager.
Grant, I'm going to let you take this and run with it.
Yeah, you have to take this.
You have to take this as a neutral.
Come on. So, I mean, Mark Hughes coming into Bradford, I don't think any of us seen it.
I don't think Bradford saw it, mate.
I think if any single person that supports Bradford came out and said, "Do you know who will be our manager after Derek Adams?" Mark Hughes. If anyone says they were saying that, they're a fucking idiot. No one said it at all.
They're a liar.
Everyone was saying the same as us. Evans, Wild, that sort of thing. I was hanging on everything, saying him. I would have, but not even the bookies.
How does it feel for you, though, Grant? For like someone who's outside of the club, what do you see it as? How do you see it?
A couple of ways that I see it. Firstly, I think it's a huge name to be in the league. I think it's great for League Two football to have his name in. It will attract bigger players into the league, not just to Bradford, but to play against them. So I think people will be there, and it'll put teams again more up for that game,
which we really don't need.
People will need that. People will want to turn over Mark Hughes' Bradford to say that they've beaten them, and it'll almost be like a scalp for other managers to have. With the team that he's got, he's got to work with that for the rest of the season. I've said it before, you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. But I do think you do just need a bit of polishing done to make you easily flushed?
So just on that, before you move on from it, Tuesday night we played Harrogate and we lost 3-1. And Chris,
I was about to say, what was the score in that game?
It was 3-1. We were 1-0 up, but for the first half, and I know it's played over 2 halves, but I want to say, because we came off of that 2-0 loss at Oldham and it was horrific.
We played
the first
really well.
half, we played like you, Chris. I spoke to you earlier. You said like probably the best we've played all season.
Yeah,
that
I'd
first
agree.
half.
I'd agree. Yeah.
So we've shown, or those players for me showed me that they can play. They can do it. We've just got to get a manager. Because the thing is, we were shooting from everywhere on Tuesday night, and that's all we needed. We've just needed to be trying to take chances. Mark Hughes just needs to come in, and I would say for the rest of the season, we're not expecting to make the playoffs. We're not expecting to get promoted. We're expecting to stay up. But I think Mark Hughes just needs to focus on finishing. Get us finishing.
So I'll mention this as well. It's not just even a case of that. It's like for Bradford, we don't, the fact we brought Mark Hughes in, we're not going, oh yeah, we're going to win the league. We're going to do this. We don't, because we're cynical. We're massively cynical. And hopefully this is the start of where the club is going to go. We've, like I said, there's potentially 20,000 fans there on Saturday for a League 2 game.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying we're too big, but it's about, we need somebody coming in who goes, okay, that's what we're going to do. And for me, it's exciting. I still can't get over the fact that we've got Mark Hughes as a manager.
Yeah, I was saying last week, you have to have someone, when you're bringing someone in, you couldn't have brought someone in like Evans, who is so Marmite. He would split the club in half, I think. You need someone that has that, I'm going to call it Challoner effect that we had at Hartlepool, like Stockport have had this year, like Oldham have had with Sheridan. Like I think potentially Carlisle could have as well. I think this is the appointment to give you that, and it's going to be a very, very shit or bust appointment for Bradford.
I think we needed to take it.
If this doesn't work out,
then the club's completely rotten. But the problem is at the moment is, even after Derek Adams, we feel like the club is rotten. So why would you not bring in Mark Hughes? I mean,
it's great. It's a great appointment for the league. How is he going to perform in League 2? That is my question.
See, this is the question, though, Grant, and this is the thing that I've had a few people message me on Twitter and say the same thing. But how will he not? He's a footballer. He knows. As a manager, he understands. You talk about Phil Parkinson. Did he know anything about non-league when he went to Wrexham? Absolutely not. Not a chance. He did. No. But he is performing, and this is the thing. However, also as well, Grant, by the way, we could have had a manager from the Championship. Let's say with Grant McCann came in, okay? He'd been managing in the Championship, and he came to become a manager of Bradford. What's the difference?
Do you know what's the difference? 2 Premier League winners' medals. This guy knows how to win. That's the difference. Yeah. And for me, and I said this to you earlier, Chris. So in January, Jermaine Defoe was looking for a club, and he ended up at Sunderland. And completely 100% the right decision for Jermaine Defoe. Like,
he loved it. Yeah, but he loved Sunderland because,
of course, he did.
Obviously, with Bradley.
Yeah, but let's imagine you're Jermaine Defoe, and Mark Hughes had come to Bradford in December. Would he have come to us? No, he wouldn't. He'd have signed for Sunderland. If Mark Hughes had phoned him and said, Jermaine, I want to talk to you, would he have listened? Yes. Of course he would. And I think anybody who's... So you've got players that are leaving sort of lower end Premier League clubs and just sitting around doing nothing because there's no one attractive enough outside the Premier League that wants to take a chance on them. Mark Hughes is that attraction. 4 years ago, he was managing in the Premier League. You know, he guided Stoke to 3 ninth place finishes within the last 7 years. Like, and we were talking about Steve Evans coming in, who hasn't done anything as a manager for this will be his 8th year. You know, and it would have divided the club. Granted, it's not just that it would have divided the club; it divided the club before when he was just a rumor. And the thing is, he didn't help the situation because he was at Oldham on Saturday. He bought himself a ticket, but everyone saw him at Oldham and just thought it's a done deal. It's a done, and it wasn't. Exactly, Chris.
The concern, obviously, I voiced on this is, I think the last high-profile manager of this size I can remember coming into League Two is Big Fat Dave Jones.
Lovely guy. Right. So, here's a question for you both. And obviously, you know, it comes across as biased because I'm a Bradford fan, Chris, you're a Bradford fan. Obviously, look at your background.
Am I? Yeah.
When was the last time you saw a League Two club unveil a manager and Sky Sports News went live to the press conference?
I could tell you straight away. Ian Holloway at Grimsby.
But did they go live to the press conference? Did they do that? Because I don't think they did. I was gobsmacked when people were tweeting and going, it's all over Sky Sports News. I thought, oh, they've announced on Sky. And I went on and it was a full thing. They had former players from, like, when he was at Stoke, when he was at Blackburn, former Premier League players on talking about him. Like, they did entire sections based on what he's going to achieve at Bradford and what he's going to have available. And I've never seen in that. The last time I think that happened with us was the Cup final in 2013, which you would have expected. But I mean, yeah, Grant, I never saw this coming. I never saw this coming.
I can't remember seeing that either. And yeah, mind blowing. I think it's a great advertisement for the league. And enjoy the TV money that's going to come Bradford's way inevitably.
I know. You know, I thought that as
April,
well.
When April's games get announced for Sky, I will be surprised if there is not a Bradford game on it.
Yeah. So here's the thing that comes with it all.
Yeah.
So I agree, and Chris, you're right. I'd not thought about it, but think, yeah, it's going to happen.
It's got to be. If not, I'm going to go on the same rant again about Sky Sports only putting on Huddersfield, Fulham, the same shit that you see all the time.
Can I just say, what a beautiful guy this is. Look at it.
You have got a thing with appointing sheepshaggers, don't you?
Oh, there we go.
Grant, we're from Yorkshire. Great minds think alike.
Derek Adams, big sheepshagger. Mark Hughes,
Scottish,
big sheepshagger.
Scottish, youthless. Do you know what? Deluded Derek.
Sheepshagger.
Do you know what I like? And thing is, you know, I had a lot of time for Derek Adams, right? I did.
Yeah, because he was a nice guy. He had nothing to do with him as a manager. This is the thing, though. This is the thing. Do you know what? The thing is, after every interview or every post-match reaction, he was just literally trying to blame every single person by himself. And when he comes out twice, 3 times, a lady, he was abusing the fans. And do you know what? He wasn't the right man for this club. And tell you what, go back to Morecambe. I tell you what, I feel sorry for Morecambe fans, but do you know what?
They're buzzing.
Can I just mention as well, before we finish as well, in his last interview, he said, "You will never get anyone better than me managing this club." And I think we should end on this one. We've got
a bit of time left.
We've just got Mark Hughes.
I agree on that.
Right in the face, isn't it?
It's essentially Derek Adams says you won't get anyone better at this level, and Ryan Sparks says, "Hold my beer."
And we need to remember how Ryan Sparks works. And I'm sick and tired of the abuse that this guy gets, because you know what? Am I allowed to say what's gone on or not? I don't know.
I mean, it's publicly.
Okay.
I
Okay.
read it on a
To
public
pour-
thing yesterday.
Okay, so Sparks can't even be around the club, as in with he can't drive there because people put his windows through. I mean,
No,
what?
it wasn't his windows. They were smashing glass bottles in and like around his vehicle. That's what it was, and it was.
You see, that sort of shit is out of order on
Yeah.
any sort of level at all. If you're going to protest against an owner at a club, and I can understand that some people would want to do that, and there has been a lot of splits about Bradford. Do it in the right way. If you're going to have a protest, do it right. Don't go and start to try and vandalise someone's car. Don't smash bottles around it. Don't be a dick. Do
It's
it
not
right.
the first time it's happened at our club either, and it's been a while. But I don't know, Chris. I don't know if you remember Colin Todd. He had his car. One of our fans, I think he got a lifetime ban after a game. Climbed on his bonnet and scraped it to bits.
As much as I didn't like Colin Todd, that is not acceptable. It's just not acceptable.
It's not. So what I will touch on is, Chris, you know, because we've mentioned this, the atmosphere within the fans. Grant, you know the atmosphere within the Bradford fans, and we'll look to wrap up after this. People blame Ryan Sparks. People say he's out of his depth. People say all this stuff, and I completely disagree with it. And they say that he's not a good football CEO. He doesn't have enough experience in the game. That man's just pulled off bringing Mark Hughes to this football club. And what they also say... Oh, go on, sorry.
No, carry on.
I'm going to say what they also say is that our owner needs to leave because he's not backing the club and he's not putting money into the club. Now, is there a bigger statement that any owner, aside from it'd be Jeffrey Richmond, who built the stands and grew the stadium, any owner who's destroyed the club, but obviously at the time, and this is where I sort of go back to what I said before, when he was doing it, we were all like, yeah.
Okay, I'll say it is. I've mentioned this about 2 or 3 times today on different networks and stuff like that, our platforms. Do not abuse Ryan Sparks. Ryan Sparks is got the club intent. He is absolutely towards the club. The fact that he's got Mark Hughes involved is incredible. Rupp, I can't really comment because we never really see him. I would like to think that he's going to put money into the club. However, I genuinely still believe that maybe he needs to leave. We need somebody else. However, his prices are... So he bought the club for 5 million. He's wanting 10 million.
But he got offered more than that by Wagner United.
Yeah, he did.
This is where my argument comes in when people say he doesn't care about the club. If all he cared about was money, we would be owned by Wagner United right now. But he saw something he didn't think he was comfortable leaving us, the fans, with. So for me, he does care about the club. He's a businessman. He's got to care about the club.
I would say so. I heard a bit about this on the price of football. And yeah, there was uncertainty even within that. They do a lot of financial looking at clubs. There was even uncertainty there with a guy what was the team that they're interviewing, a lad who's coming up and he's just going in with NFTs and all that sort of thing. He's bringing a club up from lower league, and even he was dubious about the Bradford deal. So yeah, I would say there's got to be an element of care, and he's not just going to throw it to anyone.
I would say that Ryan Sparks, genuinely, anybody who's listening to this, works his bollocks off and is an incredible CEO. I really believe that. I really do. And
I've said it all along. I don't think
I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it there, Chew. I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah, you get that's So I tell you what, right then, Grant.
Yes.
let's end on something that's not related to the league, but let's end on something that's related to this podcast. So this Saturday, we've mentioned Bradford Mansfield. However, we're having the first ever lower league look get together.
Getting together, boys.
Because Grant is heading down.
I can't wait.
Grant is heading down to see us first thing Saturday morning, stopping at my house. So I've had to buy in some beer. And yeah, we're going to the game. We're going to meet up. We're going to have a drink. We've got Adrian, who joined us, the Mansfield fan. Was it last week he was on? He was on last week, wasn't he?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, he was. It was last week.
Yeah,
it was last week. For the game for Mansfield.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're coming down. We're going to have some drinks and we're going to have a proper get-together and see if we can get a photo with Mark Hughes at some stage.
Guys,
I'm looking forward to coming back to Valley Parade again. I really enjoyed it there when I was up last time. I am really looking forward to coming down again. It's going to be a cracking game, I think.
If anyone's out on North Parade from about 1 o'clock, give me a bell. I'd love to have a beer with you. So, good. Grant, you're coming to have a beer with me. So, it'd be like the Big Show and the Midget. So, it'd be all good.
Yeah, and this is going to be quite funny because these two have never met, guys. And I think that'd be interesting. So, Grant, I'm going to let you sort of end things if you want this week. Absolutely fine. Not a problem on anything. I think we've covered absolutely everything we wanted to cover. So, guys, we'll see you next week. Grant, lead us out.
Lead us out. So, as always, don't forget to like, share, comment. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Follow us on many platforms. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Rate us. Comment whatever the hell you want. We don't care. That doesn't affect us. Just give us a 5-star rating. That's all we want. I've been Grant. That's been Liam.
This has been Chris.
Yeah! We've been the lower league look.
The lower league look. Mark Hughes, Bradford Army.